The courtroom was a place of order, a sanctuary where justice was dispensed with precision and solemnity. The high ceilings echoed with the weight of decisions made, and the polished wooden benches bore witness to countless lives changed forever. On this particular day, the air was thick with anticipation. A high-profile case was being heard, one that had captured the attention of the entire town. The defendant, a young man accused of a crime he vehemently denied, sat with his head bowed, his future hanging in the balance. Judge Harold Whitmore, a man known for his no-nonsense demeanor and unwavering commitment to the law, presided over the proceedings. His sharp eyes missed nothing, and his voice carried the authority of someone who had spent decades upholding justice. The prosecution had just finished presenting their case, and the defense was about to begin when something unexpected happened. A faint scratching sound came from the heavy double doors at the back of the room. At first, it was barely audible, but it grew louder, more insistent. The bailiff, a burly man with a stern expression, frowned and moved to investigate. Before he could reach the doors, they creaked open, and a small scruffy figure darted inside. It was a dog, a stray by the looks of it. Its fur was matted, and its ribs were visible beneath its thin coat. The animal paused for a moment, its ears perked up, as if assessing the situation. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, it bounded down the center aisle, its nails clicking against the marble floor. The courtroom erupted into murmurs. Judge Whitmore slammed his gavel, demanding order, but the dog paid no heed. It stopped at the foot of the judge's bench, looked up, and let out 3 sharp, loud barks. The sound echoed through the room, silencing everyone. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The judge, usually unflappable, stared at the dog in astonishment. The defendant, who had been staring at his hands, looked up, his eyes wide. The prosecutor, mid-sentence, froze with his mouth open. Even the stenographer paused, her fingers hovering over the keys. The dog, seemingly satisfied with the reaction it had elicited, turned and trotted back down the aisle. It paused once more at the doors, glanced over its shoulder, and then disappeared as quickly as it had arrived. The room was left in stunned silence. No one knew what to make of the interruption. Judge Whitmore cleared his throat, attempting to regain control of the situation. "Let's proceed," he said, though his voice lacked its usual conviction. The defense attorney, a seasoned lawyer named Margaret Hayes, stood to address the court, but before she could speak, the defendant, a young man named Ethan Cole, raised his hand. "Your Honor," he said, his voice trembling. "May I say something?" Judge Whitmore hesitated, then nodded. "Make it quick, Mr. Cole." Ethan took a deep breath. "That dog, it belonged to my brother. He passed away last year. He always said that if I was ever in trouble, he'd find a way to help me. I know it sounds crazy, but I think that was him." The room was silent once more, but this time, the silence was different. It was heavy with emotion, with the weight of something inexplicable. Margaret Hayes, who had been prepared to deliver a carefully crafted argument, found herself at a loss for words. Judge Whitmore leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. He glanced at the jury, then at the prosecutor, who seemed equally unsettled. Finally, he spoke. "This court will take a brief recess. We will reconvene in 30 minutes." As the courtroom emptied, people whispered among themselves, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The dog's appearance had been so sudden, so unexpected, that it felt like a sign, a message from beyond. When the court reconvened, the atmosphere had shifted. The prosecutor, who had been so confident in his case, seemed less certain. The jury, too, appeared to be grappling with what they had witnessed. Margaret Hayes, sensing the change, adjusted her strategy. She spoke not just of the facts of the case, but of the human element, of the possibility that sometimes justice required more than just evidence. In the end, the jury returned with a verdict of not guilty. As Ethan Cole walked out of the courtroom, a free man, he glanced around, half expecting to see the dog again, but it was nowhere to be found. Years later, the story of the stray dog that interrupted the trial became the stuff of local legend. Some said it was a coincidence, a random act of chance. Others believed it was something more, a moment of divine intervention. Whatever the truth, it was a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected events can change the course of our lives. And for Ethan Cole, it was a reminder that even in his darkest hour, he was not alone.